Good evening and welcome to another edition of the SportsWrap show. My name is Jesse Jackson Kauraisa, and today I'll just give you a brief of what's in the Namibian Sun Sports pages. And if we look at page 8 of today's paper, we have the South African Premier League is about to return, and our Namibian players that ply their trade in that country are quite excited with the news that the league is about to resume following time off due to the coronavirus pandemic. It seems that things are coming back to normal in the South African Premier League. Also on page 8, we do have the Northwestern Division clubs have not been paid yet, and they expect that money to be paid. That's the startup capital of the 2017-18 season. Jefta Gawap, who is a public relations officer of a club, Touch and Go, made this remarks that he does expect the NFA and the Streams chairpersons to pay up this money in order for them to subsidize the players. We do know that it's a difficult period, no income, and they do need that money to be paid in order for them to actually continue with their day-to-day runnings of life. Moving over to page 7, the English Premier League is heating up, and we do know that the champions elect, that's Liverpool, are running away with the league, and they actually did that last night with a convincing performance as well. It's been 30 years. The long wait is almost over for any Liverpool fan out there who has been waiting for this moment. Well, it's not going to be as exciting as it should be, knowing that there are no supporters at the field, and actually the parade might possibly also not take place after they win the league. However, that will have to wait because Man City are playing tonight, and we do know that Man City, if they win this match, obviously Liverpool's joy will have to be delayed just a little bit, because if Man City win, it means that Liverpool will still need to play one more game or a few more games to win the league. But if City happens to lose today at Chelsea, then Liverpool will be declared the champions of the English Premier League. But I do have some results of the Premier League that played yesterday here, and we do understand that Norwich City lost to Everton, and that was yesterday. That match played at the home of Norwich City, and Everton were victorious with 1-0, while Wolves also were victorious against Bournemouth here, winning the match by 1-0, and that was the match of Wolves. And then Aston Villa here are struggling, and they were held by Newcastle, and that's another match that was important. And here we have also the Liverpool game against Crystal Palace, Liverpool 4-0. This match reminded me of the match against Barcelona. Liverpool were firing on all cylinders and moving forward, and it was indeed a great match for Liverpool. And Manchester United also played yesterday, and they were quite impressive in their fixture, winning that game by quite 3-0. A hat-trick from their number 9, Anthony Martial. Let's look at the standings and how it looks at the moment here. We do understand that Liverpool here, they sit on top comfortably indeed with 86 points, followed by Man City with 63 points and Leicester City with 55 points. Those are the Champions League places. Chelsea, who played tonight, have 51 points. Man United in 5th with 49 points, and Wolves with 49 points, while Tottenham Hotspurs are lingering there in 7th place with 45 points. It's quite an interesting league, I must say. It's quite an interesting chase to the top 4. We do know that all these clubs want that Champions League position. We do understand and do remember that Man City will not be in the Champions League next season after a ban there. So it means that clubs like Leicester City, Chelsea, Man United, Wolves, Tottenham Hotspurs and Sheffield United, who lost against Man United yesterday, do have a chance for their Champions League position. And that is all that we had for you from the Premier League. Today in the studio, I'm joined by a physiotherapist, Munashe Chinyama, a man who has been with the Brave Warriors touring around Africa, and a man who shares his experience about injuries of players and the loss of life on the field, and which is quite a sad scenario indeed, especially he spoke about the Boozers League, where players play not having trained or anything. So there we can hear from the man himself, Chinyama. Mr. Chinyama, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you here. I mean, a man of your caliber, toured around with the Brave Warriors. I don't think there's a lot of introduction needed because you are a man that has been seen around, has seen the world. So basically we're here just to speak about sport injuries and the risk and everything that goes through that, as we do remember of a player that collapsed on the field last year and eventually died. This was just not the Premier League, but obviously a few, I think also last year when we had an interview with you that came out in the Namibian Sun, you stressed on the need to have physiotherapists on the field. I mean, it's something that we do need. So, but basically, before we touch on that, I would just love to know just 2 minutes of your journey. Coming into physiotherapy and everything, and then we can touch on your current job and also your experience with the Brave Warriors and what you think about these injuries and how we can always reduce them in order to save a life.
Thank you very much, Jesse, to start with. I think it's also a pleasure being here. It's always a nice thing to be able to get this kind of opportunity to speak out in terms of what we do in sports and medicine. Maybe I need to start with introducing myself to the viewers in case maybe some might not know me. My name is Munashe Chinyama. I'm a physiotherapist. Currently I'm the physio working with the Brave Warriors since March 2018. I'm Zimbabwean trained. I started working as a physio in 2015. Basically from that time I was just working in the hospital when Lady Poamba opened in 2016. I was working there. Then later on I decided to pursue my interest in sports. That's how I came to the team. So I've basically been with the team since, and I've actually been with each and every fixture of the team, from the previous administration to the current one, including the Africa Cup of Nations that we had in Egypt. So yes, there is a little bit of a good background to working with the Namibian football players, and I've also worked with many Namibian Premier League teams and players as well. So the landscape of Namibian football is something that I understand quite completely.
Yes. Got to understand.
Then in addition, I would like to also add that currently I'm busy with my master's in sports and exercise science at the University of Cape Town. This was necessitated by my my journey with the national team and with the clubs. Then I realized there was a bit of a gap in terms of what was needed by Namibian football. Is compared to what was there, like you mentioned in that case.
Yes, yes. So Mr. Chinyama, thank you for that well-vested introduction. Well, we have had cases in Namibian football where players actually died. It's quite a concern. It has been a concern. So for you as a physiotherapist on the field there, what do you think can prevent these incidents? What do you think needs to be done in terms of Namibian football, prioritizing the health of football players and not risking the lives of these football players?
Okay, to start with, like I said from our previous conversation, what needs to be done is to first of all make sure that there is enough personnel to man sporting events. There's been efforts to do that, but I can acknowledge at the national team level and maybe at some of the clubs level, I think we do have quite good coverage with that. But we also have then bigger problems when you get to the smaller competitions like social league,
yes, the
boozers leagues and the unprofessional leagues,
where the referee is playing holding a beer.
Exactly. So those are often the abandoned sectors of the football, and that's when unfortunate incidents happen. Remember the case of Johannes Ruinas from last year. I think it was August 2019. It was a very informal football setup. but because they also didn't pay regard to medical measures, because what Namibians need to understand is an injury can happen anywhere, whether it's in a professional setup or in a national team level or the social league level or even a training. So what then we need to start talking about is to, apart from availing personnel, is to also set up systems that ensure that we don't have situations where unfortunate incidents happen unguarded. For example, what I'm basically trying to introduce to my colleagues at NFA to try and push the agenda is to say, let's try to manage this at stadium level.
Yes.
For example, if we can put up measures to say no booking can be made at a stadium without an assurance that there's going to be medical present. That creates accountability, even if it's a social league game. When the organizers come to arrange, they must be requested to produce evidence to say we have a medical person. That sort of creates a bit of a protection for everyone. Yes.
Speaking about the Boozers League in particular, where we know players obviously grace the field. Let's say the Friday night they were out having fun with alcohol in the system and all kind of substances, and then the next morning they are on the field. Well, it's not that intensified, but obviously they do move and they do play. What's the risk factor there, knowing that you were out last night drinking, having fun, and tomorrow you are on the field for a social league game? I mean, your risk factor, and we do know these guys are not fully fit because they don't really train or practice every day. Is the risk quite significant compared to football players that are in a semi-professional or even an amateur level, but who are currently training and everything?
Certainly, and I think that is also such a very, very huge problem that we have around. It's a problem we have everywhere. Remember, for you to be able to perform, you need to have trained well enough. So it's something that I would like to urge the rest of the Namibian community, boozers, to say, of course, in some instances, it's not always under our control to stop you from playing, but at least let's take due diligence and care for our own health and put at least safety measures or do something to make sure that by the time you play, maybe it can be midweek, you just have to maybe make a run or exercise a little bit before you can then play for your Friday night game, or even before the match. What's more even practical, do a few stretches to at least minimize the chances of you getting injured. And most of the injuries that occur in this circumstance of boozers, it's also collisions, because of lack of training and lack of coordination, the chances of just bumping into each other or injuring each other are also significantly increased. Ideally, we would not even want to encourage people to drink then play, as much as it sounds fun, but it's also something that is a health risk that we really hope we can take guard and advise each other.
In terms of heart attacks and stuff like that, a lot of stuff, I know that. Well, Mr. Chinyama, I'm sure you have dealt with a lot of quite life-saving moments of players. Could you just highlight in one of your moments where you felt like a hero, that you have actually done well to save a player's life?
It's quite interesting that the most significant situation that we were in actually did not involve a player, but it involved one of the technical team members. Who collapsed on the field after a match, and which even made me realize that there is so much to be done. In fact, if I have to tell you also, it was immediately after that match back in Lusaka last year.
Was it the African?
It was the very last qualifier.
African Cup of Nations. Yes, the one we lost, and Namibia lost 4-1.
You can imagine it was such a roller coaster moment. One moment we thought we didn't qualify. The other
moment, I could sense. I
can tell you the environment there was extremely.
So this led to the non-team player.
Yes. And even prior to that specific match, we had 2 incidents of heart attacks that happened at the hotel that we were staying. And because they knew there was a sports team, they called for the medical person to help a total stranger in the hospital, to take him to the hospital. And before that, at the airport, someone also collapsed. So we had 3 incidences in the same trip.
It was
not involving a player, but that also showed the need for there to be emergency
medical
personnel whenever a large group is traveling, because we ended up doing things that we initially didn't think. But if I have to take it to the field, I think it's really been just the usual. I mean, it's the normal job. It's things that I always anticipate. But above all, I can say it's something that then made me realize we need to be more serious with this, and I pledged to take myself a little bit further to study on emergency medicine. That's why I'm busy with my master's. I also did the football medicine diploma with FIFA. I do have one. It's all of the things I'm trying to do to make Namibian football safer and to allow us to only enjoy the game and not worry much about the medical side, knowing that we are in good hands.
Okay, I'm going to take you out of your comfort zone a bit here. Comparing, I don't know whether when you were in Zimbabwe, were you actually following football as a person, and what do you, comparing the safety measures and health seriousness of football players, how do you compare these 2 nations?
Okay, I'm not sure if I should say I was been following football or football has been following me, because I started playing football at the age of should have been 10 or 11 already in primary. So I was playing for the primary school team, high school team. I also played for the university team. I was the goalkeeper of the University of Zimbabwe.
Oh, wow.
Then whilst I was playing for the team, then I became the physio of the university team. So even university, I think the equivalent of TSAN, I was the physio of the teams. So that has generally been the situation. But if I have to compare my experience across board, from being trained in Zimbabwe and coming to work here, and also traveling to other countries and interacting with other CAF medical committee members, what I've realized is what normally helps to make this very serious is to have systems already in place which prioritize medical education to start with, that everyone who's representing a team medically must have some form of extra training for specific sports or specific types of injuries. For example, if you are representing rugby, we would expect you to know much more about concussion than about everything else, because that's one of the most common injuries apart from shoulders.
In terms of contact sport, football.
If it's football, there is more incidence of cardiac arrest because of the kind of intensity that you consistently push through the 60 minutes. So you do realize there are regular courses, training courses for physiotherapists, for doctors, for medics, and for anyone working with teams, even athletic trainers, fitness trainers. So that kind of education conscientizes everyone, and the players also to be aware of ways to take caution. So to answer you briefly, it's the educational systems that are put up in place for training, national training, all clubs. So I think that's the gap that we need to go towards here.
In Namibia compared to any other nations where you have traveled. I think, thank you, Master Chinyama. There you have it. You have said it. The boosters should be careful. Namibia should plan more in terms of having medical personnel on the field, be it at the Boosters League, be it any, let's say even a school league, anything. We do need that in order to avoid the losses of life like what happened last year. And I think that's quite clear enough. Thank you so much for coming us to the show, and we hope to see you again in the future. I do remember that FIFA contacted you after that article. The previous incident and stuff like that. So they are keeping an eye on these situations. I hope you will play a role in actually pushing towards this and become a hero in the books of Namibian in Namibian football history, as you already are aspiring to be. So thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. I think I just need to close that and do acknowledge also the people that are already taking strides and making a lot of effort in assisting Namibian football with regards to medicine. That I'm hoping that we do get more people like that coming up. I would want to mention, for example, Ms. Donata, who's also working with most of the clubs. Yes.
Yeah.
Then people like Dr. Shituleni, people who is an orthopedic surgeon, people who would normally not have time for sports and traveling. But when we did have that conversation with FIFA for the cardiac arrest patient, Dr. Shituleni came on board. He was contacted to try and come up with they called it the sudden cardiac arrest registry, where they would take note and all the details of reports of such incidents, and they get compiled and they will be discussed in other international congresses, so that in future we don't get this happening again. But the problem with observing an incident and doing nothing about it is that next time it might happen again.
Yes.
Maybe it's to you next time. So when something that is unfortunate happens, we must learn. We must be able to do something about it.
Very well said.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chinyama.
All right. Thank you very much, Jesse. It's been a pleasure.
There you have it from Mr. Chinyama. You can catch us again live on Monday for the Sports Wrap show, where we wrap up what the weekend had in store for us. Thank you so much.